Welcome to our dual celebration. Thank you for coming, everyone. I know that for some folks it was short notice, so we appreciate you being here and really shining a light on the great work that both of these project teams have done. We've got a couple of speakers here. First, I'd like to hand it off to Executive Director Shoshana Liu.
Good morning, or I guess almost afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for our dual celebration, where I think we're also going to recognize all of the work that's happened on the mountain corridor over the course of this construction season in both Region 3 and Region 1. It's been a really extraordinary few months, building on a lot of years of planning and work and the funding that we now have in place because of Senate Bill 260 and the federal dollars that have come in to be able to get a lot of these projects off the shelf and into execution. You know, there's a lot of projects where everybody sort of knows they need to get done, right? Like, Floyd Hill, everyone's been stuck in traffic there. Vail Pass, you know exactly why that auxiliary lane is needed. Then there are the projects where no one knows they need to get done until they don't work. And, looking at this is an example of that kind of project, right? This structure is so important to the basic functionality of I70, both because it's the place where the emergency vehicles can cross to be able to deal with the kinds of hard things that happen, but also because looking at it from here, you know exactly what would happen if it failed, right? Not an option. So it's the kind of project where we knew for years that it needed to get done, but in the public imagination, they probably didn't even know it was there, because when you're driving straight on the highway, you don't even see it. That's one of the reasons it's so exciting to be here today, to be able to make sure that the public has a chance to see, what was happening under the hood, so to speak, and how important it is, both to being able to run emergency services along I70 and to making sure that we protect the structural integrity of I70. As Elise said, that is a good-looking box, and you can really see the craftsmanship taking place on the structure, but also recognizing how hard it was to get this project done, right? This is not an easy spot on I-70 for construction, and we had two contractors working together on two projects, having to coordinate during some very tough seasons. Grant on our team has had to see some really difficult traffic challenges because people tend to drive at higher speeds than they should on this stretch, and everybody really came together to manage a very hard work zone in as strong a way as possible. So really, hard hats off to everybody who has put up with this one, both to the teams, our team, the contractors, and to the traveling public who really helped us get through this, and really appreciate how good it looks having it done. I'd be remiss not to just quickly call out some of the other projects that have happened in proximity to this one over the course of the season. Getting started on the planning work on Floyd Hill as you're heading west. Thinking about the repaving that's been happening on both sides, really, the extraordinary work on the Vail Pass project, where it's not done yet, but it looks a whole lot better than it did earlier this season and certainly last season. Repaving the area around Parachute on I-70. We had the chance to celebrate last week as you go further west. And those are just a few of the many examples of the work that's been happening east and west on this corridor throughout the season. Lots more that needs to be done. And, as we all know, it's about to take its yearly beating starting in a few weeks. But, so it is when we have an interstate through the mountains, and, really great work to everyone getting a lot done. So thank you to everyone. And I will hand it off to our Chief Engineer, Steve Harrelson.
Thanks, Shoshana. I want to start off with a little story. Those of you who know me know I like to tell stories. So about 15 years ago, I had my 9 or 10-year-old son with me, and we were skiing, and there was an incident up above, and traffic was a parking lot. So I made the executive decision to come through the old box here and go back to Silverthorne. My son freaked out a little bit. Dad, it just says authorized vehicles. I said, it's okay. I work for CDOT. But you're not at work. I said, oh, it's okay. So I took him through. For those of you who had never been through the old box, it was about 12 feet wide and about 9 feet tall. It was built in multiple phases. There were cracks in it. There were icicles hanging down. It was truly spooky. And my son was a little scared. He realized why it was only authorized vehicles, not anybody. So with this thing now, if we have an incident and have to get people turned around, we can put interstate traffic through here. We don't have to worry about icicles falling on somebody. You know, it's much bigger, it's wider. It's a huge help for emergency returns. It's also great for the plows. They can turn around down here and focus on the upper half of the road. So huge improvement. Hats off to the Ultig team who designed it. Hats off to Kramer who built it. This was built through the CMGC process. For those of you who don't know how that works, we hire a contractor during the design, and they come and they tell us how it can be value engineered and how it can work better from a constructability side. They bring knowledge that they have that CDOT engineers don't always have on how to get stuff built more efficiently, more effectively, and have a better product. And this is the most recent in a long line of CMGC projects that Kramer has worked on. So hats off to Kramer, another huge success. It's a beautiful project. Hats off to Ultig for working on that design. And again, hats off to the CDOT staff that worked on it, kind of as a partnership to get it all built. So aside from the box here, I think we're here to celebrate some overlays. We got an overlay going down to the west of here. That looks great. Everyone who drives up here knows that we'll pave the road, and within a year or two, it'll need to be paved again because it just gets beat up with all the chains and all the weather. So this is a nice day in October. We're lucky it didn't snow a foot overnight. So thanks to everybody who worked on it through the end of the season. And I'm told that there's some bad ruts on the other side of the tunnel, and it sounds like we're going to get a little maintenance patch going next week. So it'll at least get us through the winter, get those ruts on the right-hand lane going down between the tunnel and Bakerville. So thanks again, everybody. And next up is Jason.
Thank you, Chief Harrelson. I'm Jason Smith, the new Region Transportation Director. I wish I could take credit for a lot of this, but I really got to give the credit over to Grant Anderson. He's the RE, the resident engineer up here. And, he's coordinated this over the past few years. And it takes a lot of work. Before these projects, you see them in construction. There's a lot of planning and design that goes into them and a lot of forethought. And these may look like typical projects that CDOT does all the time, but they're a lot more than that. Each project's always unique in many ways, and up here they're very unique and challenging. As you can see, the terrain they're working with, the grades they're working with, and the traffic and the speeds, and that's definitely been something that's been on Grant and the team's mind for a long time, trying to figure out how to deal with it through design. And then now in construction, they had to figure it out. And it's pretty amazing to see how these projects come together with the contractors. The way they phase it, the way they get deliveries, and they keep everybody safe, not just their crews, but the traveling public. And they do an excellent job at it. And they're really experts in their areas. It's truly amazing to come into the job and get to have these celebrations. And it's a lot more than just a paving job and the box culvert project. It's truly a success for everybody here in the state in many ways. And so I just kind of want to echo what everybody said so far. Thank you to the teams. Thank you to Elam for the paving and Kramer for the box. I thank you for the staff that helped Grant deliver, Ultig and Atkins. It's been a great partnership all the way around. And it's always just a great celebration at the end whenever we can pat each other on the back. So thank you to everybody involved and appreciate the hard work. Now I'd like to turn it over to our Director of Maintenance and Operations, John Normay.
So I don't know how I can add to what the boss said, chief engineer and the RTD, but I'll try. So I was talking to the chief this morning and said, wow, I don't usually get invited to ribbon cuttings for any kind of projects because maintenance is usually, we're just happy something got fixed and we didn't have to do it. So so I'm pretty fired up to be here. And I know the maintenance crews from Section 9 are all behind you, the superintendents and the deputy superintendents and the ops, and they're all appreciative. Having come from the metro area and getting promoted to become the deputy or director of maintenance and operations, as soon as I took over, I was up and down the corridor, And oftentimes the maintenance guys would just tell me to meet them at the box. And I'm like, what the heck are they talking about? And I'm driving up because I'm too embarrassed to tell people I don't know what the box is, because they're acting like everybody knows about the box. So the box is, just if you don't know, and just for your future reference, it's probably the single most important culvert in our tens of thousands of culverts we have. It is literally was designed to move a little bit of water, to let some animals through, and to get small emergency vehicles through every once in a while. But it has become critical to operations in the corridor, especially the Eisenhower Tunnel. The maintenance forces used to use this and wedge their plows through here, and utterly careful. I'll back up and say, if you look at any of our plows that have been up in the corridor for a while, they're scraped up on the side, and it's not from hitting other vehicles or hitting other objects. It's from wedging through here. But after 60 years in use, it become pretty obsolete. Fire trucks couldn't get through. CSP had a hard time getting through with their vehicles in the snow. Our plows couldn't get through. So as you can see now, we'll have no problem with that at all. There's so much that goes on behind the scenes that most people don't realize that CDOT's involved with, and it makes up our infrastructure. We have, as I mentioned, tens of thousands of culverts that people never think about, that cost millions and hundreds of man hours each year just to maintain. This was just one of them. We have fiber backbone that is running along the corridor that people don't know about. So fixing this and upgrading this to support maintenance operations, law enforcement, and first responder operations, it leaves me speechless, because it really shows that we're invested in taking care of those that travel on our highways. As the boss said, most people won't even ever notice this. But when somebody gets into an accident or there's a fire just up the hill a little bit, those travelers will thank goodness that the fire truck from the tunnel, yes, our own CDOT fire crews, will be able to come down here, turn around. State Patrol, if they're on the downhill side, they'll be able to turn around and make it uphill. And we'll be able to save lives by doing this. So I really want to thank our engineering team, our contractors, everyone from our PIO team who basically helped message this, our local partners, the counties working with us. But most importantly, I really want to thank our traffic management team, whether it's a contractor or it's our own engineers. They were able to manage traffic at such a high elevation, almost 11,000 feet, at 6 and 7% grade, 6 lanes of traffic, and for the most part, it was very minimal traffic disruptions. Almost an engineering feat in itself, not to mention replacing the box. So hats off to those guys and gals that basically kept the highways open for us and kept them safe. So, and then lastly, I want to thank our maintenance teams who basically worked around this for 2 years when it was closed, because they didn't skip a beat. This particular section of highway is often undermanned, and they do yeoman's work trying to make up for that. So I just want to thank everybody, and I'll turn it over to our local partners, Steve, who is with Summit County. Thank you.
Yes, so sorry you're stuck with me. Our Board of County Commissioners are meeting with the President of the United States right now, so they sent me up here to basically thank Colorado Department of Transportation for all of these wonderful projects that you guys are building, especially within Summit County. They wanted to thank you personally for that. Not only this project and the repaving from here to Silverthorne, but the exit 205 work that is going on right now is extraordinary, and we really appreciate all of the work going on there. I'm looking forward to the completion of that and moving on to 203 within Frisco. So we obviously understand that there's an economic impact associated with all these improvements. Getting all of our visitors and our ski industry really appreciates having a safe thoroughfare for all of our visitors that travel on, both coming from the Front Range or from anywhere throughout the country. So we really appreciate having these safe thoroughfares for all of our visitors and guests. And we look forward to future partnerships for any other project within Summit County. And again, really thank all of the work that you guys have put into these projects. We really see the work and the achievements that have been accomplished, and can't thank you enough.